Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Monday, November the 25th, race number 7 at Mahoning Valley. Let's take a look at the field for the $250,000 Steel Valley Sprint Stakes. 3-year-olds going 3/4 of a mile. You can download free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Access them and handicap along with us. There is some speed lined up for $250,000. Timeform US has this as a red bar scenario on their Timeform pace projector. That means they expect the pace to be fast, and I got to agree with their assessment. That 4 Dare Day is quick.
There's a lot of speed in this race, Dan. You're right that Dare Day is quick, but there's plenty of other horses who want to be forward in their races. I think this pace is definitely going to be heated.
Number 1 is Bourbon Calling. This horse has won 3 out of his last 4, and we can give him a mulligan for the loss where he was 62-1 against Chancelot when that horse absolutely freaked in the Amsterdam at Saratoga. Let's go back to his most recent performance during the Keeneland Fall meeting. This is a horse that doesn't mind a little bit of pace in front of him because, as you see, he comes from way out of it to win it.
Yeah, I mean, a fast pace might help this horse more than it helps anybody else in the race. He's a one-run closer. He was totally outrun at the beginning of this race, Dan, but he had a contested pace in front of him. That's Get Hammered, who's also back in this race, who basically contested the pace throughout. And Bourbon Calling came running and just got him at the end. This horse benefits more than anybody else from a fast pace.
The number 2 is Call Paul. This horse, a graded stakes winner earlier in the year in the Swale at Gulfstream. I guess you could call this kind of a disappointing loss last time out in Maryland in the Maryland Million Sprint. He was odds on. He took over the lead under a pretty confident Paco Lopez. He has a clear lead here at about the 3/16. This is a nice horse on the outside, though. Taco Supreme, who's going to run Call Paul down in the shadow of the wire. Call Paul is going to have to obviously improve off this performance, but he's pretty consistent and he's got some strong class lines.
I mean, he really does. That is a disappointing loss on the face of it, just because he was such a short price. But, as you said, the horse that ran him down is pretty good, too. And Cole Paul did run his figure in there. I guess if that gives you any consolation. He's a nice horse. He's also been very well spotted by Jason Service. 6 wins in his career. The highest price he was in any of his wins is 3-2. He's basically odds on every time he wins. So Service has found the right races for him. I actually feel like he's found a tough one for him on Monday, and it's going to be a short price.
Number 3 is Big Drink of Water. This is a horse that's going to try dirt. He's been plying his trade recently up at Woodbine for Larry Ravelli. Here's his most recent race. This is an off-the-turf race on the Tapeta surface. He showed pretty big speed in this race. He's on the blue cap. He is on the lead, but he is unable to hold them off late. This is a horse that really likes synthetic sprinting. The question is whether he can transfer that dirt, that synthetic speed to the dirt, especially with some other fast ones entered.
Yeah, he's got a lot to prove as he switches surfaces in here, and he's unfortunately for him going to have to do it in a race that's just loaded with other speed.
That main speed is likely to be the 4 Dare Day, coming off a 94 Beyer speed figure effort. He's got the home court advantage as well. That race was at Mahoning Valley, and as they turn into the stretch, you're going to look at it at face value and say, boy, how does Dare Day blow this lead? Well, listen, the horse that runs him down, Altissimo, was the big favorite in this race. He's a horse that is shipped out of town in the past in some graded stakes races and has run well. Dare Day meets the challenge of Altissimo right here. He digs in, and he's only beaten 3/4 of a length. This is a lightly raced horse. I still think he's got a lot of upside, Mike, and I think he's just going to make the front in here. And if Cole Paul blinks to try to get to the outside, this horse might be long gone.
No, I agree with that. I think they're just going to send this horse and see what happens in here. If he can repeat the race that he ran last time, I guess that makes him tough, Dan. I kind of want to see it, but I agree with you. He's got a lot of upside, this horse, and he's very fast.
I think the 5 Manny was a little bit dirtied up in his past performances, Mike, because this is a horse that looked like a nice sprinter early as a 2-year-old and into his 3-year-old season. And when Catalano got a little bit of Derby fever when he was 3rd in the Lecomte, they ran him in the Risen Star, they ran him in the Pat Day Mile. Those were some very tough spots against the likes of War of Will and Mr. Money. I like that they gave him a freshening. They brought him back on a synthetic surface that I think he's okay on. I think he's better on dirt. And then last time, I think we saw the real Maniwa drawing outside of the 2 speeds really helps him because he doesn't have to come from 100 lengths out. He can work out an outside stalking trip.
I agree. He can sit a trip just off the pace there. That's what he did last time at Churchill. And not only that, he also got shuffled a little bit on the turn there, and he wound up in a little bit of traffic, but he still came with a good finish once he got clear. I like that win. I think he's a much better sprinter than he is a router. He's a contender in this race.
Olympic Village might be a little bit of a sleeper here simply because I think he's been running at the wrong distances ever since he was claimed by Bob Hess. This is a horse that has looked good in his last 2 dirt sprints. They stretched him out in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Let's throw that race out. He didn't belong in that race. But last time, I'd even going a mile and a 16th, I just don't think he had that late punch at going a route of ground that he does sprinting. Does he have to improve? Obviously, but he's getting blinkers. There are some angles here at a big price, and he'll get the right pace set up.
Nah, I can't add anything to that, Dan. I agree with everything that you said about him. Luch has a couple of horses in here. This is the one that I want to use. I think he's going to be a good price, and I love him turning back.
Another one of the local horses in here is Ruling Empire, coming off a win and a non-winners of 2 Life effort. We'll watch this race right now. This is a perfectly likable effort. He also got a really nice trip down towards the inside to win this race. It was a really good ride. This horse's buyers just are too light right now to compete with the big names.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you want the local horses, obviously, to participate in these races, but they put up some big money for this race, and the shipper showed up, and it just leaves this horse in too tough.
Centrist was 31-1 against New York bred allowance horses last time out. Merely ran evenly. Lone Win came in the slop at Finger Lakes. There are a lot of questions this horse has to answer, although he seems to be improving incrementally.
He's taking steps forward, at least small ones, as far as figures go, but he's badly overmatched against these horses.
We saw Get Hammered in the Bourbon Calling video replay get run down in the shadow of the wire. He did a lot of work in that race. He came back. He was the beaten favorite at Churchill Downs. He is lightly raced. He has run some fast races. And again, like a horse like Manny Wad, this is a horse that draws outside of the other speeds. It gives Jose Valdivia Jr. plenty of options.
It gives him options. We'll see if this is a horse that can take advantage of it. He hasn't shown yet that he can run his race without the lead. He's going to have to do that in here. But as you say, he's very lightly raced. He could improve.
By B ran last time out over a sloppy track at Keeneland. Really never got on track. The prior effort at Keeneland also not great. Lone Win came at Indiana Grand over a wet track. This is a horse that has a lot of work to do. It's very lightly raced. I wonder if it's a case of too much too soon.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with him. He's going to be a huge price in this race. You know, in his defense, the race 2 back, the only fast dirt start for him against Honest Mischief, he was really in over his head there, but he's also in over his head here.
Dugout, the number 11, just adds to the pace. I don't think he can rate. It's nice that he's outside, but he just seems like pure speed. He got it done at Hawthorne last time out, and he showed some guts in this race. He's the gray down on the lead. He'd been working 21-4, 44-4 for the half mile. It looks like he's in deep water right here, Mike, but Dugout just says no. And I know he's the 9-10 favorite, and he's supposed to win this race, but he showed some guts. Manny Wah had his number 2 back, however.
And Dugout's done this more than once in his career, Dan. He's a very game horse. He likes to fight in the stretch. He's a talented New York bred. He's held his own in open company. But how does he win this race with all the other speed in here? I think it's going to be really tough for him.
Preamble, the number 12, is a horse that started his career with a great amount of promise. Just consider, in his second lifetime start as a 2-year-old, he popped a 92 Beyer speed figure. It's just a shame that he's had to deal with obvious physical problems. He's only raced twice this year. We haven't seen him since he was eased in the Chick Lang Stakes as the favorite. That's how much they thought of this horse going into that race on Preakness weekend. This is a tough spot off a layoff, but I want to keep an eye on this horse in the future. If he stays healthy, there's something for him.
I kind of agree with you. I don't want to use him in this race necessarily. I just want to see what he does. I can't say that I necessarily bought into him early on, even though, listen, I didn't have any real knocks on his races. I just wasn't sure that I thought he was as good as he looked. I still think he has a lot to prove, but I want to see what he does in here.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Steel Valley Sprint. $250,000 is the purse. You're going with Manny Y. I think they found what he wants to do. Sprinting on the main track, you're going 5-2, 6-1.
Yeah, I like Manny Wah in this race. I think he can get the right trip, and I do like him sprinting. And I want to use a lot of Olympic Village, too. I think this is the right spot for him.
Trainer Jason Service has sent a couple of horses in the last couple of years to Mahoning Valley at short prices. They have not won in the Steel Valley Sprint. He's going to try to turn the tide with Cole Paul. I think Cole Paul's rateable. He's going to have to be because there's so much speed in here. I think he sits a good trip under Irad Ortiz in the second flight, and I think he asserts his class. 5-2 is his morning line price. I'm expecting him to get bet below that. I'm not sure he's worth much less than 5-2. 2-4-11-9 for me in the Steel Valley Sprint. It's your Monday race of the day. It has an approximate post of 3:33 Eastern. Good luck.